Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you may be listening, whatever time it may be. My name is Ryan Dooley, and welcome to Let's Talk Football. We've got a lot to talk about today. There was no episode on Monday. I was out of town. I'm actually repping it now. Went up to Canton and Cleveland to go over here. You can see, watch the Cavs game with one of my friends, go visit him and his family up there. Also went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So you'll see this shirt that I'm wearing, and then you'll see the football back there, some new stuff. I'll keep adding to this backdrop kind of as I go on and get more and more stuff that I want to put back there. But there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of NFL stuff that went on. My Bengals, of course, get a win when I least want them to, and I want them to go get a better pick. But my focus today is going to be pretty much all college football, and it's going to be around the college football playoff bracket because I believe there is a major issue with the bracket how it currently is, much like there was last year. And I'll give college football the credit they deserve and the committee of they fixed the problems that arose last year of the teams winning their conferences getting the first round buys because teams like Boise State last year should not have gotten a first round bye, and neither should Arizona State. Neither of those teams should have been able to not play in a first round game because they won their conference. So they did a good job fixing that in just a year, and I believe they can fix this in just a year as well. But kind of before I get into that, I do want to talk about each game specifically because, as I've mentioned a couple times, I am an Alabama fan. So last Friday night was quite the game. I was sitting on the edge of my seat for most of it. I had any of my friends will tell you, had very, very many intense reactions to the game and my thoughts on the game. I will kind of talk about here. I'll also run down. I've got notes on the other three games as well. But let's start off with what I believe was the best game of the weekend. I believe that's a non-biased take there. In Alabama heading to Oklahoma and coming back down 17-0 to win the game 34-24. Man, what a game that was. I mean, for the first quarter and a half, I was sitting here thinking, wow, the Notre Dame fans, the fan base, they were right. Alabama should have dropped out. This is embarrassing. My head as an Alabama fan starts going to, all right, Kalen DeBoer is going to leave for Michigan, and I think I'm okay with it. I don't want him here anymore. Wow. And then the game just completely flips on his head. The touchdown to Lazier Brooks, great fight. I think they did a great job explaining that throughout the night. Of that was the play that changed kind of the intensity that Alabama was bringing to that game of him fighting through three tackles on fourth down as a freshman and getting into the end zone. The dropped snap, dropped punt. I don't even know what you want to call it. I was a punter in high school, and I never have had that happen to me where I just drop it. I think Joel Klatt did a great job of explaining it in his show of he basically just laid the ball on the ground for Alabama to come get, and Tim Keenan comes and recovers it and sets up the field goal. And that time I'm like, all right, down 17-10. Here we go. We get the ball. Alabama gets the ball to start the second half. Let's just not give John Mateer in this offense any points here. Let's be down at 7, and then they can come out and score and make it tied. And then John Mateer throws one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. It turned out to be a miscommunication. He believed the receiver was gonna break his route outwards or sit down. He instead keeps running, throws a flat route right to Zabian Brown for his second pick six. In a big moment, he had one earlier in the year against Tennessee, the 100-yard pick six that flipped that game on its head. This one flips this game on its head. He runs it all the way back. It's 17-17 all of a sudden after all the momentum was with Oklahoma. Now Alabama has it all. And from there, they just rolled Oklahoma the rest of the way. The game ends up ending 34-24, but since the 17-0 start, it was 34-7 Alabama. John Mateer, I tell you what, the first quarter, I was like, all right, all you had heard about was he was the healthiest he's been since his thumb surgery, and it looked like it. He looked incredible. Maybe was missing some throws downfield, but so that he had some drops. He had some balls that were good throws. They couldn't come down with it. And then ever since that interception, the wheels fell off. Missing throws, making bad reads, not setting protections right. Alabama started to get pressure on John Mateer, which they were not able to in that entire first quarter. He was just sitting back there having all day to throw, and he's a good enough quarterback where he will find gaps in that zone coverage to make these throws in. from what looked like it being an Oklahoma blowout win. I mean, the second time they've blown a 17-point lead in the college football playoffs. Obviously, the other one was not under Brent Venables. It was under Lincoln Riley during the 14 playoffs. But man, this what a game this was. There were so many takeaways. Ty Simpson played so well after that first couple drives. I mean, Alabama didn't even have a first down yet, and it was 17-0. Completely stayed with it. Great mentality, great leadership to lead them to a 34-24 win. I will talk about that game, the next game with them of Alabama and Indiana a lot on Friday. That will be a marquee matchup. There's a lot of good games. The good thing is it feels like now we actually have a playoff of the group of five are out, and I will touch on that a little bit later in this show. But we do have the great matchups now, and that one will be a great matchup. Two coaches that coached at each other's schools. Kurt Signetti was on the Alabama staff under Nick Saban, and Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator at Indiana before making the move to Washington and bringing Michael Penix with him. I'll talk about the Miami Texas A&M game because I believe this was the other great game. I was completely wrong on this game, and I tell you what, there was the one pick I got wrong this weekend. I was 3 for 4. Um, yeah, I thought this was going to be higher scoring. I know both defenses were good. I just figured it would be slow to start, and then it would the teams would settle in, and you would see all the playmakers, Malachi Tony, Casey Concepcion, Marcel Reed get involved. That didn't happen at all. The more and more I looked at that game, the more and more I wanted to pick Miami, but I stuck with my gut and went Texas A&M. I should have switched it with A&M playing bad down the stretch. I did like Miami coming into it. I thought the 12th man was going to come into play more, and I think it did. I just think Texas A&M was not able to capitalize on some of the stuff that was happening. Some notes I took during the game while watching this, Marcel Reed just looked uncomfortable throwing the ball the entire day, and I don't mean with his arm, I mean with his feet. You could watch his feet, and it was happy feet back there, couldn't get set, didn't have his feet lined up in the right ways, and it's a lot of the reason why he was missing some easy throws. Screen passes that he was sailing over guys' head, slants, in routes balls were just sailing on him because his feet were not under him and they were dancing around. He couldn't get set. I will say though, I was very, very impressed with his ability to run and choosing when to use his legs. He wasn't always just snapping it and looking to run like he had earlier in some games early on in the year, which I thought could be an issue. He was looking to throw the ball downfield, but there were many times in that first half where would have a 3rd and 6, and they would QB spy him, and it didn't matter. He was looking downfield, nothing's there, goes through his progressions, decides to take off, and is just a better athlete than whatever spy was on him and was able to move the chains and then get down to avoid taking a big hit. Really, really impressed by him in his awareness to do that, but I will touch later on in the game where I think he should have done it and just didn't. Um, Ruben Bain, oh my goodness! I tell you what, when I come out with a mock draft, this next mock draft, this will be this coming Monday. Wow, he is everywhere. He was literally everywhere in this game, and I know he said some stuff after the game that about A&M that some people might like, some people might not. I would like my edge rushers. I like that edge, but I would like my edge rushers to maybe not come out and basically say the entire team stinks and that no one can contain him. It's true. He was in the backfield all day long, out making tackles on screens, was just everywhere. Would I really, really impressed by him in that game and on a national stage. It reminds me a lot of what Abdul Carter was able to do for Penn State during their playoff run last year, where we already knew how great of a player he was, but he didn't have the national stage to showcase it, and he did and ended up being a top 3 pick in the draft. I believe this is a lot like what will happen with Ruben Bain. Not to spoil the mock draft too much, but I do believe he's probably jumped Arvell Reese to be the best non-quarterback taken. It just kind of depends on what the fit will be with what team is picking there. Malachi Tony is incredible. We've known this all year. He is so dynamic in everything he does. And just you watch the punt return, it ends up with no points, but man, a shoelace tackle from taking it to the house. I know the kicker ends up missing the field goal, so you don't get any points out of it. But this dude's electric, and just they can use him in so many different ways. They can throw him in the slot. They can throw him outside. with the ball in his hands. He's so hard to bring down. I'm such a big fan of his. They use him in so many different ways. Mario Cristobal does a great job getting him involved in every possible way and creating the matchups for him to be successful. They used him great. Texas A&M really threw this game away, man. The kicking game's a mess. I know it was windy and both kickers struggled, but A&M's kicking game struggled all year long. You can't miss a short field goal because it gets blocked. You've got to get as someone who was a kicker in high school, you have to get the ball up. It's a short kick. You don't have to worry about that low drive. If a 60-yard field goal is getting blocked at the line, that's fine because it's got to be a lower trajectory. But it was under 30 yards. It literally has to just get up. It's got to get vertical first, and it just didn't. He pounded it right into the defensive line with their hands up, right over the snapper. It just felt like every chance they had to make a statement or get a big score, they just threw it away. And the one I want to talk about the most is the one at the end of the game. Ball inside the 5. They're down there. They're ready. All the momentum's with them. I don't like that they don't go quick. They take their time. They decide to throw the ball a couple times, and Marcel Reed throws the game-losing interception in the end zone. And I'll touch back on what I said earlier where I was giving him praise on using his legs when it was needed and in the right times. Why would he not use his legs as a threat in that situation? They've got time. It's not like they needed to rush. I believe they had timeouts left, or if not, they had plenty of time down there. Why would he not use his legs and make him a threat running? Because Miami, I mean, the game is inside the line, and he's just sitting in there, and Miami's not even paying attention to him. They can play off coverage, soft zone inside the 5 yard line because A&M posed no threat of any running attack. And when you have a quarterback that is that talented with his legs, I was in disbelief that he didn't even look to run once and throws a bad ball into double coverage and gets intercepted and pays for it with the season. That's all I'll talk about with those two games. I'll touch on these last two games. I don't even want to touch on these all that much. I'll touch more on Ole Miss and Oregon than I will James Madison and Tulane because I'll touch on it later. But let's get the Group of Five out of the playoff, guys. Neither of these games were close. I said you already saw Tulane play Ole Miss earlier in the year and lose by 35. They lose by 31 this time. Is that really that big of an improvement? Ole Miss looked fine without Lane Kiffin. Charlie Weiss Jr., the offense looks the exact same. They came out on fire. That's exactly what I thought they would do. It's coming out making a statement, wanting to prove that they are still Ole Miss. Interested to see how they play against Georgia. I believe that matchup is going to be incredible. Obviously, that is Ole Miss's only loss is Georgia earlier in the year. But interested, that'll be at a neutral site, so that's gonna be a great game to watch. Trinidad Jambliss, I mentioned it in the preview for that game, making a difference on the ground. Over 100 yards last time against Tulane, was making a difference on the ground again. Rushing touchdown against Tulane this time. Yeah, he looked great. He still is. It's the same system under Charlie Weiss Jr. They looked about the same as they did under Lane Kiffin. I do want to see they didn't face any like any challenges in this game. Um, no adversity that really came out of this game for them. They pretty much rolled Tulane the entire game. Interested to see because they will against Georgia face some of that adversity. Interested to see who steps up and is a leader. Is Trinidad Chambliss able to do it? Is it Pete Golding on the sideline? Because you don't have Lane Kiffin, and that was one thing that he was really intense and really good at rallying a team when they needed it. Interested to see who steps up in that. I mentioned that in the preview as well. Um, yeah, Shaz Preston was about the bright spot for Tulane. They were outmatched the entire game. John Summerall, he's a great coach. He's going to do great at Florida. He is leaving there very well and very respectfully. But this game was never close. I didn't think it would be close. And yeah, Ole Miss checked all the boxes that I was looking for. I was more interested in this game than the game I'll talk about next because I was interested to see how Ole Miss would look without Lane Kiffin, and they looked fine. They looked like the same Ole Miss they have all year, but interested to see how it looks in a bigger game. And then JMU and Oregon. This game again was exactly what I thought it was. I gave JMU more credit than I should have given them. I know they got over 30 points. It's because Oregon stopped playing. JMU, I didn't understand the entire game, some of the schematics they were running. I was watching this with my buddies, and I was talking about this the entire first half with them. Is when you are the least or the less talented team in a matchup, I do not understand why you are not playing matchups. And what I mean by that is you do not have the better players. So you have to beat them schematically. Why are you running bunch sets on the line of scrimmage, allowing Oregon to stack the box and then running it? Like, if you want to run it, if I was at JMU and I was calling the plays, if I'm wanting to give myself the best chance possible, all the trick plays were great and they worked and whatever, but I'm gonna spread Oregon out. I'm gonna go spread. I'm gonna go wide. I'm gonna go Tennessee style of get those guys on the numbers and see what I've got. If I've got numbers in the box, all right, let's check. Let's run it inside. Let's get a hat on a hat, and we'll be fine. If Oregon wants to stack the box and I've got one on ones to the outside, let's let receivers go try to make plays. I don't understand that it seemed like they tried to run the same offense they've run all year against lesser opponents where maybe they are the better team against a team that is not even close, better athletes than you, and bigger, faster, stronger. The right guard for the O line in general for James Madison looked like they could play linebacker for. They were the same size of the linebackers for Oregon, and I think schematically that game could have been closer if they just decided to try to play numbers and advantages and leverages rather than what has worked all year. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. I think Oregon's winning this game every single time. And that's because of this offense. This offense is incredible. Um, I just, yeah, I said it in the show, and I've published my bracket on who I think is gonna win the next round, and I will talk about that a lot because this Texas Tech Oregon game is gonna be so good. And awesome offense from Oregon and an awesome defense from Texas Tech. This is going to be an incredible game, one of the best games of this entire bracket. Very excited to see this. But I mean, this game was a snooze fest. Oregon was going to win from the very first snap. All they were doing was connecting balls downfield. Dante Moore looked incredible again in the mock draft. It's going to be him or Mendoza going one. I think Mendoza was the for sure number one. But you got to see that ceiling that I've talked about with Dante Moore. Man, is this guy talented and will only be 20 if he does declare for the draft, which it's looking like he's going to. I know there was talk about he might go back to school, but he's kind of left it open now. And if he continues to play like he did against JMU and like he has recently, no doubt in my mind he will go into the draft and I think could rival Mendoza for that number one pick. But yeah, that was my reaction to all the first round games. I will touch Friday on the second round games and my picks for those and kind of in-depth analysis. Don't know that I'll do the singular videos for each. I might just do one video talking about all those. But I want to talk about something that is kind of the storyline of this video, and what I want to talk about is let's fix this college football playoff, because I think what makes these group of 5 games so painful to watch is you saw the other 2 games. The 2 games between Alabama and Oklahoma and Texas A&M and Miami that were such good games and insane atmospheres at home and on the edge of your seat the entire game. And then you watch the last 2 games and it's like, wow, this is, watching week 3 of the college football or of the season where it's a tune-up game and you're just excited because football's back, and it's like not college football playoff. I understand that you want to represent the group of 5, but there needs to be other qualifications if you're going to put a group of 5 team in. Like, everyone's going to point to where I'm a big fan of, and I've got it right back there, the Cincinnati Bearcats, who made it in the 4-team playoff. And, okay, they went and they lost by 3 scores to Alabama, but yeah, they went to South Bend that year too and beat Notre Dame, a top 10 ranked team. Like, they proved they could do it. They were in the second year of winning every game, and They were blowing teams out, and they slowly climbed and proved themselves. Yeah, they weren't as talented as Alabama. They maybe weren't the fourth best team in the country, but they earned that. And I'm not saying that James Madison or Tulane didn't earn that, but no one is gonna take. Notre Dame is a 3-score favorite over either of those teams if they played tomorrow. Texas is the same. Vanderbilt's the same. BYU, like, there are teams you should not be penalized because you play a better schedule. That can't keep happening because I understand you want to represent the group of five in this, but this is not March Madness where you have 64 teams and there's basketball so much different of you can have these Cinderella upsets. You're not going to have this at JMU is never going to Autzen Stadium at night and beating a packed house and that Oregon team. That's never happening ever. I just it's not college basketball, and it's never going to be college basketball, and that's fine because college basketball is its own thing. The best teams in college basketball lose 5 games a year. Then they're the 1 seed in the tournament. Like it, it doesn't make any sense to me why the group of 5 is still in this. There could have been opportunities for so many better games. Let's send Texas up to Autzen Stadium. Let's send Arch Manning into one of the toughest environments he's ever had to play and go watch that as the night game. Let's send Notre Dame. Let's send them back to Texas A&M, or excuse me. Let's send Notre Dame to Ole Miss in that environment, in the SEC environment with a team that just lost their coach and Marcus Freeman going in there wanting to prove something because they just got jumped by Miami after all this and they want to go, or send BYU. Send BYU up to Autzen Stadium with Barrett Bachmeier, the freshman, going to play in a big-time environment. Or we can send James Madison and Tulane to go get the doors blown off them and not have anyone watch the games. There's such a great opportunity to have such great games here, and it fell flat on its face those last 2 games. I think it's just because those first 2 games were so good, it amplifies it more too. Make a group of 5 playoff. Make a playoff for the best group of 5 teams and let them play and give them a 12-team playoff. And it just they can't. They're not on the same level. Make qualifications. Hey, if you're a group of 5 team, all right, cool. You want to be in, win your conference, and have 3 top 25 wins. Prove you can go win. Prove you can go on the road to a big-time school and go win. What, now you'll be 9-3? Okay, so then you probably shouldn't have been in the first place. I don't agree with teams being rewarded with playoff spots because they play in lesser conferences. It's not March Madness. You're not going to get the Cinderella story that you get from a Loyola Chicago or a UMBC Golden Retrievers, where it's 1 game in a vacuum. Upsets happen way more often in college basketball than they do in college football. It's just the case, and you're not gonna get that from James Madison going into Autzen Stadium. It's not gonna happen. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that. I understand why the group of 5 is in and wants to be represented, but it can't. You can't have 2 blowout games. And I understand that everyone's gonna bring up the Tennessee Ohio State game last year. There are blowouts that happen, and that's fine. Like there are blowouts that are going to happen between big teams, but that environment was insane until I see a group of 5 team that doesn't have one of the best running backs we've seen in college, and I'm talking about Boise State last year. Even Boise didn't win a game in the playoffs last year, and that game never felt particularly close with them in Penn State. And just let's get the group of 5 out of the playoff. Unless you want to expand it to 64 teams like March Madness has, and then you can put them in to get blown out by 1 seeds. it doesn't make any sense that Oregon now gets a tune-up game against James Madison where they can look at things that they need to fix and get ready and then go play at a neutral site with Texas Tech. I like Dan Lanning coming out and saying that he believes the playoff game should be at home, and I agree. Put them all at home besides the national championship. Make it like the NFL playoffs. If you earn the top seed, you should get home. That shouldn't change just because you want to put them at neutral sites. Put the championship at a neutral site and put the rest of the games on campus, and let's go. Let's have an entire playoff full of the best 12 teams in the country going at it every single matchup. That's how I would fix it, and I hope there are some fixes that are made this offseason. But that is all I have today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what you would do to fix the playoff, or let me know what reactions from the last game or what game you're excited for coming up. You see the socials down there in the bottom right. Go follow the TikTok. Go follow the Instagram. The Instagram is brand new, so make sure you go follow that. Yeah, that's all I have today. It is Christmas Eve, so there will not be a video tomorrow because Justin is gone with family, and I will also be home. So Merry Christmas to everyone out there from wherever you may be listening and whatever time it may be. My name is Ryan Dooley, and we will see you next time here on Let's Talk Football. Thank you for watching this episode of Let's Talk Football. If you enjoyed what you heard today, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, comment down below with what you would like to see me talk about next. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more just like it, click on the video right now to see my last episode, and let's talk more football.